My daughter smirked. "Shut up, you rotten leech." So I canceled her mortgage and erased her name. Then 99 missed calls. She slammed her fork down against the plate hard enough to make the china ring. "Shut up, you rotten leech." Lisa's voice pierced through the silence like glass shattering. "This house is not yours. You're just a squatter we have been too kind to tolerate. You take up space, you stink up the kitchen, and frankly, you ruin the mood. So eat quietly or go choke on your memories in the laundry room." Her husband, Carl, did not look up. He just kept cutting his steak. The kids stayed locked into their phones, pretending they heard nothing. I sat there, my hands gently cradling the glass of water I had brought to the table myself. Not even a plate for me, just a glass of water. I placed it down slowly. My fingers were shaking, but I smiled to myself, not out of joy, not even sadness, just the strange calm of someone who's finally stopped expecting kindness. "My name is Hazel. I am 74 years old." By the time I reached 74, I had already carried more than 4 decades of caring on my back. That kind of lifetime builds certain muscles, physical, yes, but more so in the heart. I was a carer for 40 years. I washed strangers who could not lift their arms, changed diapers for men older than me, wiped blood and tears from people no one else would touch. I sat with the dying when their own children never came to sit with them. I spoon-fed soup to mothers with Alzheimer's and held the hands of veterans who had forgotten their own names. I gave them comfort and peace and dignity. And now, in this house, my house, though they pretend it is not my own, daughter calls me a leech, in front of my grandchildren, like I am some parasite clinging to the walls she painted. But I am not quiet because I am weak. No, I am quiet because I am remembering. I stood up without a word. My knees are bad now, but I still know how to walk without making noise. Old carers know how to do that. I picked up my glass, walked to the sink, and rinsed it carefully like I always do, though no one asked. I turned off the faucet and walked down the hallway, past the room that used to be mine, but was now a guest office full of unopened Amazon boxes. I opened the door to the laundry room. A thin mattress lay against the wall, a small shelf with my Bible and my glasses. That was where I slept now. I closed the door gently behind me. And you, yes, you are listening right now if you believe that those who give should not be erased, that those who built foundations deserve recognition, then this moment is yours too. If you feel justice deserves celebration, smash that hype button. Let us keep stories like this alive, echoing far, far away. Your support helps us bring understanding and love to those who deserve it. Thank you so much. Keep listening. In the silence of that laundry mattress and the hum of the dryer, I realized something. Decades of service slow you down, yes, but they also sharpen your memory in ways they never tell you. People think old women forget things. They think we mix up dates, confuse the past with the present, but I remember everything. I remember the day I signed over the down payment for this house. I remember the $278,000 I gave Lisa because her husband's credit score was too low. I remember the ink on the co-ownership document, the one she made me sign just in case. I remember her saying, "You'll never be alone, Mama. We'll take care of each other, like family should." I remember. And I remember the first time she moved my bed into the laundry room. "It's only temporary, Mama. We just need your room for Carl's office while he works from home." That was 4 years ago. I remember the first time she took away my house key. "We're worried you'll misplace it, Mama. At your age, you can't be too careful." I remember the look in her eyes. Not worry. Ownership. I remember the first time I was left out of a family photo. "It's just for the Christmas card," Lisa said. "We're going for a more modern look." She meant, "You don't fit." I never said anything. I cooked, I cleaned, I picked up the children from school. I folded their laundry and unclogged their toilet and waited for them to come home from their vacations in Cancun and Greece while I stayed behind to watch the house. This house, the house I helped them buy, the house I am no longer allowed to call mine. I sat down on the mattress and opened my drawer. A simple blue folder rested inside, its corners soft from years of handling. Inside, documents. Originals, Co-ownership, mortgage, amendments, insurance, letters, emails I had printed out and saved, but not erased. Not yet. I pulled out one letter. It was a notice from the bank, a monthly mortgage statement that Lisa had left on the counter by mistake, thinking it was trash. I read it carefully again. The loan was under 3 names. Hers, her husband's, and mine. I looked up at the tiny window above the washer. A bit of dusk was peeking through. The wind outside howled slightly. Winter was coming early this year. They wanted me out. But I was not the one who would be leaving. I slid the papers back into the folder, placed it under my pillow, and lay down quietly. I could hear the television playing in the living room. Lisa, laughing loudly at some reality show, the same mouth that spat venom at me an hour ago. Let her laugh. Because soon, very soon, she will remember that everything she built was rooted in my name. I was 45 when cancer took my husband in the night, quietly, the way he always came into a room. I did not cry much at the time, not because I felt nothing, but because I had no space to fall apart. There was only me and Lisa. She was 12, and terrified, and I knew if I broke, she would never feel safe again. So I worked. I worked every shift they offered me: hospitals, private homes, end-of-life centers, morning shifts, night shifts, double shifts. I cared for men whose sons had left them in silence, for women who forgot their own names but clutched my hand like they had known me forever. I had strong arms then, a steady back, a good heart. People trusted me with their lives, their dying wishes. Families wrote me letters that I still keep in a box under my bed. "Thank you for giving my father dignity," one daughter wrote. "You were more of a daughter to him than I ever was." But I had only one real daughter, Lisa. I made her lunch every morning, helped her study at night. I taught her how to sew a button, how to balance a checkbook. I sat through every choir recital, no matter how tired I was. I even said no to 2 marriage proposals from kind men, because Lisa did not want a stranger in our lives. I chose her, over and over again, every time. When she got accepted into college, I sold the only piece of jewelry my mother had left me to pay for the first semester. I cried when she graduated, not because she thanked me, but because she did not. I thought I was doing what mothers were supposed to do: give everything. Years passed. Lisa met Carl, a corporate analyst with a tight smile and expensive shoes. He never liked me. I saw it in the way he called me ma'am instead of Hazel, even after 5 years. He saw me as baggage, something to be tolerated. But Lisa was in love, and I did not want to be in the way. When they got married, I gave them $10,000 as a wedding gift. That was everything I had saved in over 2 years. She cried then. Said she did not deserve me. Maybe she was right. 2 years later, Lisa called me, her voice bright and nervous. They had found a house, 3 bedrooms, suburban neighborhood, good school district. But the loan was not going through. Carl's credit was a mess. They needed help. I asked how much. They needed nearly $200,000 for the down payment and closing costs. I had a piece of land, my parents' land, in upstate New York. It was old, undeveloped, but the value had risen. I sold it, everything. It covered 82% of the cost. At the signing, Lisa said, "Let's put all 3 names on the deed, you, me, and Carl. That way, the loan process is smooth, and you're legally protected, Mama." I remember how she squeezed my hand, her eyes so soft. "And when we pay it off, we'll transfer it all to your name. You're the reason we're even getting this house." I believed her. She was my daughter. She told the realtor, "This is a 3-generation home. Mama's going to live with us forever." That day, we took a photo in front of the house. Lisa held the keys, Carl held her waist. I stood beside them, smiling like I had built the house with my own hands. In a way, I had. I helped unpack. I folded every towel, labeled every box. I paid for the backyard landscaping and even installed a raised garden bed. I taught Lisa how to plant basil and tomatoes. We drank iced tea on the patio. For a moment, I thought maybe I had done something right. "Mama," Lisa said one evening, "you'll never have to worry about anything again. This is our house. Yours, mine, ours." I remember that sentence like it was scripture. Back then, my room was the one with the morning sun. Lisa had decorated it for me with lavender sheets and a small writing desk. She even printed a photo of me and her as a child, taped it on the wall. "Makes the room feel warm," she said. But warmth has an expiration date. Little by little, the lavender sheets turned gray. The writing desk disappeared, replaced by a folding chair. Then came the excuses. "Carl needs that room for work. We're redoing the upstairs. Just for a week, Mama. You don't mind the laundry room, right?" I always said yes, because that is what carers do. We say yes until there is nothing left of us but a shadow in a hallway. I never asked for my name back on the deed. I never asked for my money back. I never asked for acknowledgement or respect or thanks. All I asked was to be allowed to stay, to live quietly in the home I gave them. Instead, I was treated like a squatter in my own legacy. I sometimes wonder what they would have done if I had died quietly in that laundry room. Would they have sold the house the next day? Would Lisa have cried at all, or just said, "Finally, more space for the kids"? I do not know. But I know this. I did not give them everything just to be erased. I may have been a carer all my life, but I was also a mother, and I remember every promise made in that house, especially the ones they broke. It started slowly, the little things, one by one. I barely noticed the first shift, a forgotten "thank you," a door closed without a good night, a family event I wasn't told about. At first, I told myself it was just stress. Lisa had 2 children now. Carl was working longer hours. I made myself useful. I picked up groceries, folded laundry, packed school lunches. I did it out of love, not obligation. But one day, I realized I hadn't had a real conversation with my daughter in over a month. Only instructions. "Mama, the trash goes out on Tuesdays now." "Mama, the baby needs changing again." "Mama, can you walk Liam to the bus stop at 7 sharp? Please don't be late this time." Every morning, I woke up before the sun. I made breakfast for the kids, even though they barely looked up from their cereal. I washed dishes, scrubbed floors, nursed sick stomachs and fevers. I clipped coupons for groceries I didn't even eat. I wasn't living in a home, I was maintaining one. Quietly. Invisibly. Then came the meals. At first, I sat with them for dinner. Lisa would serve me last, after the children, after Carl. Then she began plating their meals and leaving mine in the kitchen. Eventually, she stopped setting a place for me at all. I ate standing up. Over the sink. On good days, there was leftover rice. On bad days, I made toast and said nothing. I didn't complain, because that's what mothers do. We make do. But the day she moved me into the laundry room was the day I stopped pretending this was still my home. "It's only for a few weeks," she said. "We're redoing the upstairs and Carl needs the extra space." There was no box of my things, no offer to help, just a thin twin mattress on the floor, tucked between the dryer and a leaky sink. I brought in a small shelf, stacked my Bible, my glasses, and a photo of Lisa when she was 5. I told myself it was temporary. Everything in life is, after all. But the weeks turned into months, the months into years, and nobody ever mentioned the upstairs again. When the grandchildren were old enough to speak, I taught them little things: how to tie their shoes, how to say please and thank you. I told them stories, brushed their hair, held them through their nightmares. They called me Nana. I loved them so deeply it ached. One morning, I offered to help with homework, just spelling words, nothing complicated. Lisa stepped between me and the kitchen table. "Mama, please, let the kids focus." I was just helping. "You're teaching them the wrong way. We use phonics now, not memorization. The last thing I need is you confusing them." Another time, I tried to teach my granddaughter how to make bread, like I used to with Lisa. My hands were in the dough, and the girl was giggling. Lisa walked in and froze. "No, absolutely not. She has allergies. Why would you risk that? There's no dairy, no nuts, no—" I said, "No, Mama, you don't get to override my rules. This isn't your house. These aren't your children." That night, I sat in the laundry room with the lights off, listening to the hum of the dryer and the sound of my own breath. and I remembered Ellen. Ellen was one of my patients, a woman paralyzed from the neck down for 8 years. I cared for her 5 days a week, bathed her, fed her, read her poetry when her eyes could still follow. She passed away in my arms, clutching my wrist like it was the only thing keeping her here. "Do you remember Ellen?" I asked Lisa the next day, gently, while she poured herself some coffee. She looked up, annoyed. "What?" "Ellen, paralyzed for 8 years. I cared for her nearly a decade. She called me her daughter. Her whole family still sends Christmas cards." Lisa rolled her eyes. "You mean those people you used to wipe for money?" I blinked. Lisa dropped her mug into the sink, hard enough to splash. "You got paid for that, Mama. It was a job. Here? You live here for free. You don't earn anything. You eat our food, sleep in our house. You don't even pay utilities. Honestly, if anyone should be grateful, it's you." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see a daughter. I saw a stranger in my child's skin. She didn't remember the sacrifices. She didn't remember the nights I stayed up braiding her hair while my back ached from lifting a dying man. She didn't remember that I gave her everything, including my silence. I had become the live-in help, no wage, no holidays, no dignity. And still, I stayed, because deep down, I hoped she would come back to herself. That one day, she'd look at me and say, "I'm sorry, Mama. I forgot who you were." That day never came. But something else did. Something better. Something colder. Resolve. It was a Sunday morning when Lisa announced we were going for a drive. No explanation, just, "Put on something nice, Mama. We have a little outing planned." I was surprised, shocked, even. She hadn't taken me anywhere in years, except to doctor appointments or school pickups. But I didn't ask questions. I put on my lavender blouse, the one I had worn at Lisa's wedding, and brushed my thinning hair back into a bun. Carl drove. He barely said a word. Lisa chatted cheerfully, almost artificially. "We thought it would be good for you to get some air, see some options." Not now, of course, just planning ahead. The car pulled into the parking lot of a large facility with manicured gardens, a white fountain, and glass doors that sparkled in the morning sun. The sign read, "Wellington Pines, Luxury Assisted Living." I knew that name. I worked night shifts there 10 years ago. I remembered the smell of bleach, the quiet sobbing behind closed doors, the endless bell calls that no one answered in time. I remembered the forgotten faces, lined with waiting. It was beautiful on the outside. That was the trick. Lisa placed a hand on my back as we entered. "Just take a look around, Mama. You'll have your own room, 3 meals a day, bingo nights, even yoga." Carl added, "They even have staff to help with personal hygiene and emergency medical response." I looked at them both. "This isn't a visit," I said quietly. "It's a rehearsal." Lisa laughed a little too loud. "Don't be dramatic. We're just exploring. Nothing's decided yet." But something in her voice had finality, like the decision had been made long before this drive. A young man in a blazer handed me a brochure. "We're happy to answer any questions, Mrs. Hazel. Your daughter mentioned you might be joining our community soon." Joining. That word chilled me. I smiled politely, took the brochure, and said nothing. I walked slowly through the hallways, taking in the sterile air, the fake cheer, the silence under the chatter. My old colleagues were gone, replaced by newer, younger staff, but the place felt the same. I nodded and played along. I smiled at the nurses. I let Lisa lead the way like I was a child. All the while, something in my chest tightened into a fist. That night, back at home, I could not sleep. The air in the laundry room felt heavier. I stared at the ceiling, the pipes above me groaning like bones under pressure. I felt disposable, replaceable. The next morning, Lisa left a document on the kitchen counter, pretending it was nothing. "Just routine paperwork, Mama," she said. "For the house. Legal stuff. Nothing major." I nodded, took the paper, and placed it in my drawer without looking. Later that night, I read every word. It was a consent form, a vague but legal document authorizing a loan restructuring on the house with my printed name at the bottom. No signature space, just a digital facsimile of my name. I flipped it over and found the date. 4 months ago. I stared at it for a long time. The next day, a letter came from the bank. Lisa must have assumed it was for her, but I got to the mailbox first. It was addressed jointly to all 3 co-owners, Lisa, Carl, and me. I opened it. Inside was a statement of mortgage adjustment, reflecting a new line of credit taken out against the house, one that I had never approved. The paperwork listed proof of consent as archived signature file, HR 2014. I knew what that meant. Back in 2014, when we first bought the house, the bank had scanned my signature into their system. Lisa had requested the bank use that archived file to approve the new mortgage loan, without my knowledge, without my consent. And now, the house was leveraged again, heavily, for something I did not know. I sat very still in the laundry room that night, holding the bank letter in one hand and the brochure from Wellington Pines in the other. They were planning to put me away, in a place I once worked for minimum wage, using the money from a house I paid for. I did not cry. I made a plan. Over the next few days, I moved like fog, quiet, unnoticed, slow. I pretended not to understand the paperwork Lisa mentioned again. I nodded when she asked if I had lost the letter she gave me. I smiled at Carl when he asked if I liked the facility. I began to gather things. First, I retrieved the original co-ownership deed I had stored away years ago, the one that named me as a 1/3 legal owner, with equal say in all property decisions. Then I found the original mortgage agreement with the survivorship clause my late husband had insisted we include, the one that granted each co-owner veto power in case of suspected fraud or coercion. I began recording. Every conversation, every little whisper. When Lisa mentioned the assisted living timeline, I pressed record. When Carl muttered, "All she has to do is sign, and we're good. She's not even lucid half the time," I pressed record again. I printed everything. Emails, texts, even deleted messages I found on Lisa's old iPad when she left it unlocked. There were notes between her and a real estate agent discussing potential sale options once Hazel vacates the premises. Vacates. I had become a furniture piece to move around. But not this time. I may be old, I may be quiet, but I am not stupid. I have cared for people in their worst moments. I have buried friends, buried my husband. I have learned what desperation looks like and what manipulation smells like. And I smelled it now, all around me. I tucked the documents into my folder, zipped it closed, and placed it back under my pillow. They thought I was fading, but I was only just beginning to focus. It had been nearly 20 years since I last spoke to Gerald Marks, but he answered my call like I had never left his memory. "Hazel," he said, his voice still gravel-thick, steady. "You sound like a woman who's finally ready to draw a line." "I need your help, Gerald," I said. "They used my name to remortgage the house without my consent, and now they're trying to bury me in a nursing home before the ink dries." He didn't ask for explanations. He just said, "Still got your original paperwork?" "I do. Every page." "Good. And you remember the clause?" I did. My husband, may God rest his soul, was meticulous when it came to legal details. When we signed the co-ownership papers, he'd insisted on including something Gerald called a survivorship override clause, technically known as an exclusive survivorship safeguard. It was rare, buried in small print, and almost never contested. It allowed any one of the co-owners to revoke joint ownership in the event of financial coercion, elder abuse, or fraudulent consent. It had to be triggered formally through a written affidavit and processed by the firm who drafted it, Gerald's firm. "I remember," I said. "It's time." Within 72 hours, I had met with Gerald at a quiet diner 3 towns over. He reviewed every document, every screenshot, every voicemail. "This is airtight," he said. "They're done." "But I don't want to fight," I whispered. "I just want my name back. My dignity." He looked at me, eyes soft. "Then we'll take both." Over the next week, we initiated the revocation protocol. Gerald filed the affidavit citing financial fraud, elder coercion, and unauthorized use of a scanned signature. We served the bank with formal notice to freeze all activity on the mortgage. The bank complied immediately. But I wasn't finished. I needed someone to hold my ownership in trust, someone I could depend on, who had no emotional stake, no baggage. So I called Ava's son. Ava was my dearest friend before she passed last spring. Her son, Michael, had gone to law school on a scholarship. I'd helped him with his college applications once, stayed with Ava during his graduation when she cried with pride. He was a sharp attorney now, working at a small but respected real estate firm. When I called and explained everything, he said without pause, "Hazel, it would be an honor. I'll handle this like it's my own mother's case." We transferred my 1/3 ownership share into a legal trust under Michael's firm, fully documented, notarized, protected. That way, any future decision involving the house would require his legal consent, not just mine. No one in that household knew what I had done. Not until the letter arrived. It came on a Tuesday. Lisa had just returned from the store when she found it in the mailbox. The envelope was thick, official, and bore the firm's crest in gold. She opened it right there, on the porch, frowning. I was watching through the laundry room window. Her face went pale, then flushed red. "Mama!" she screamed. "What is this?" I stepped out slowly, folding a dish towel in my hands. "What's wrong, Lisa?" You froze the mortgage? You revoked the loan? How?" "I didn't revoke it," I said calmly. "The lawyer did. The one your father and I hired years ago. The clause is valid." Gerald confirmed it. "So did the bank." "You can't just, you don't have the authority." "I did," I said, "and I used it." Carl came down the stairs, holding another envelope. "Lisa, we got another letter. From the bank. They're freezing the title. They're saying Hazel's share was transferred to a legal trust, controlled by someone named Michael Barron." Lisa turned to me, wild-eyed. "You gave your share away? To a stranger?" "He's not a stranger," I said. "He's Ava's son, and he's a lawyer. A good one." "You conniving old," she choked on the word. "You used my name without permission, Lisa," I said. "You took money against this house without telling me. You forged my name, tried to erase me, and planned to dump me in a facility I once scrubbed toilets in." She stared at me, seething. "Now the bank knows," I continued, "and so does the legal system. Any further attempts to tamper with the title will trigger a full audit." Carl dropped onto the couch, silent. Lisa paced the floor like a trapped animal. "But the refinance, the plans, I already used some of the money." "That's your problem," I said. She tried one last card. "You want to ruin your own daughter's life? Over what pride?" I looked her straight in the eye. "No, Lisa, not pride. Proof. Proof that I still exist." The next morning, she called the bank. I heard her voice through the door, frantic, pleading. But the answer was the same. The co-owner does not consent. And the co-owner was no longer hers to manipulate. She had pushed me into a corner. And now I had quietly locked the door behind her. Lisa showed up to the law office 20 minutes late, dragging her anger behind her like a shadow. Her heels clacked across the marble floor louder than necessary, her blazer too sharp, her face too red. She did not greet me. The conference room was silent, except for the low hum of the air vent above us. Gerald sat at the head of the table, calm as ever, with his reading glasses perched low on his nose. Michael sat beside me, a thick folder open before him. Lisa slammed her purse onto the table. "You dragged me here for what? To humiliate me?" Her voice cracked. "Mama, what do you want? Do you want to see me lose everything?" I folded my hands on my lap. "I want to be heard." "You've been heard. You live in my house, "My house," I corrected gently. "Legally, 1/3 mine. The documents are here if you'd like a refresher." Gerald leaned forward. "Miss Lisa, let's keep this civil. Your mother has brought forth substantial evidence of legal fraud. You are not here today for a family reunion. You are here because you're facing real consequences." Lisa's eyes darted to the folder. Michael opened it slowly. "Let's begin with this," he said, sliding over a printed email. "You submitted this to the bank 6 months ago as part of your refinancing request. This signature here, marked in red, was sourced from a 2014 file, not newly signed. There's no active consent. That's one count of fraudulent authorization. He flipped the page. This is a recorded phone call transcribed, verified between you and your husband, discussing how to get her to sign and whether she's mentally fit enough to contest. Your words, Lisa. She went pale. Gerald spoke next. In the state of New York, these actions could be prosecuted as financial elder abuse and document falsification. Both carry serious penalties. And should your mother choose to press charges, I didn't forget anything, Lisa blurted out, but her voice wavered. You used an archived signature to misrepresent active consent, Michael said. That qualifies. Lisa looked at me, desperate now. Why are you doing this, Mama? We're family. I was just trying to make sure things were secure. You were trying to erase me, I said calmly. You did not want my voice. You wanted my silence. She stood up, then sat back down. Her face cracked, panic showing through. It's not fair, she muttered. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, Carl. The kids, the mortgage. As if on cue, the door opened. Carl stepped in. He looked different, hollow, tired. He nodded to the lawyers but ignored Lisa. Carl, Lisa gasped, what are you doing here? I spoke to the bank, he said quietly. They sent me everything, including the record of the wire transfers. Lisa froze. You told me the loan was for renovations, Carl continued. You said we needed it to update the kitchen, pay off medical bills, but you used it on crypto. You dumped our house's equity into digital coins. It was a short-term investment. It was a lie. His voice rose for the first time. You gambled our future. Without me, without her. And now we're buried. Lisa's mouth opened and closed. No sound came. I want out, Carl said, not looking at her. I'm filing for divorce. I'm not going down with you. Lisa stood again, wobbling. You're leaving me? You after everything I did for us? You did it for yourself, Carl said, then turned to me. Hazel, I'm sorry. I should have known. I said nothing. Lisa collapsed into the chair like her bones gave out. She buried her face in her hands. Gerald cleared his throat. At this point, Miss Hazel has chosen not to press criminal charges yet, but her legal standing remains intact. All mortgage activity is frozen. Any attempts to bypass that will be reported, Michael added, and all future property decisions will go through the trustee account. You no longer have sole access, Lisa. Not now, not ever. The silence that followed was deafening. Lisa finally looked at me again. But we're still family, she whispered, a last-ditch plea. Family protects, I said. You buried me instead. She did not speak again. As the lawyers collected their files, Lisa sat unmoving. I stood slowly and reached for my cane. Michael offered his arm, but I shook my head. I could walk just fine. And I had never stood taller. The letter arrived on a Thursday morning, bold, official, sealed in cold certainty. Lisa tore it open with trembling hands, then dropped into the kitchen chair like someone had shot her through the chest. I heard her ragged breathing before I saw the paper flutter to the floor. Final notice of default. She owed $150,000 to the bank, due in 30 days, or the house, my house, would be seized. There would be no more refinancing, no more adjustments, no more fake signatures, only debt, and the clock. Lisa screamed into her hands that night. Carl had already left, his side of the closet empty, the car gone from the driveway. The children were with his sister, and Lisa was alone for the first time in her adult life, truly alone. And for the first time, she noticed it. I stayed quiet in the laundry room, sipping my tea as I watched the fire begin to spread. The next morning, Lisa started her campaign. She set up her phone in the living room, the same place she once told her kids. Nana's too old to understand modern parenting, and pressed record. Hi everyone, she began, her voice soft, cracking. I never thought I'd have to do this, but we're in a crisis. My mother Hazel has turned against us. She's given power over our home to strangers, and now my children and I are being evicted. I think she's confused. I think something's wrong mentally. She's not the woman she used to be. She sniffed, dabbed her eyes. I'm asking for help, please. We need $150,000 to save our home. Anything helps. Please share. She posted it everywhere. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And for the first few hours, it worked. Sympathy poured in. Comments like, "This is heartbreaking. Elderly mental decline is so hard. We're praying for your family." But the internet is a double-edged blade. By that evening, someone had found it. A clip. Grainy, shaky, but unmistakable. Lisa, standing in the kitchen, eyes rolling, lips curling. "Shut up, you rotten leech. This house isn't yours. Just die already." It spread like wildfire. Someone paired it with a clip from her donation video. Then someone else dug up old posts, pictures from Cancun, designer bags, spa days with the caption number "Self-Care Queen." The comments turned. "You called your mom a leech and now you want her money? Maybe don't abuse your own mother next time. You're not being evicted, you're being held accountable." Donations stopped, then reversed. People demanded refunds. Lisa tried to delete everything, then she locked her accounts. Then she tried to reframe again, but it was too late. Her voice, her face, her cruelty, they were all etched into digital stone. 20 days passed. I did not speak to her once. She knocked on my laundry room door, once, lightly. "Mama, we need to talk." I didn't answer. The silence said everything. On day 30, the truck came. Big and gray. A foreclosure team with solemn faces. They carried clipboards and zip ties, cameras mounted on their shoulders. Everything was done by the book. Lisa stood on the porch with a suitcase and 2 boxes. The house was officially no longer hers. The new title, Under the Trust, had nullified her name entirely. The bank no longer recognized her occupancy as valid. "Please," she whispered to the officer. "My mom lives here. I just need to talk to her. She'll let me stay." They ignored her. She turned toward the door and began to scream. "Mama, Mama, please, don't do this." I sat by the front window, my teacup warm in my hands. Jasmine with honey, my favorite. She banged on the door. "Mama, I know I was wrong. Please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I was overwhelmed. I was scared." Her voice cracked. "I'll do anything. I'll take care of you. I'll give it all back. Just don't leave me like this." Her face was wet. Her hair stuck to her cheeks. "I have nothing left. Carl's gone. The kids hate me. Everyone's laughing at me online. Please, don't let them take me." She dropped to her knees. "Mama, Mom, I was wrong." I sipped my tea. The phone on the table buzzed. Again and again. 99 missed calls. I turned it face down. Lisa was outside, sobbing now, the boxes forgotten beside her. "I don't have anyone else. Mom, I only have you." But I had nothing left to give. She had taken everything. And now, she finally felt what that meant. I sold my share of the house within 2 months. Michael handled the legal work swift, precise, and silent, just how I wanted. The trust processed the sale, and the money landed in my account like a quiet apology from the universe. I split it in half. The first part bought me something I hadn't had in years: peace. A 1-bedroom condo near the ocean. Nothing grand, just a place with soft light, clean walls, and a wide balcony where I could hear the waves rolling in. There was a small bookstore 2 blocks away, a morning market where the vendors smiled without pity, and neighbors who called me ma'am with kindness instead of contempt. Nobody there knew what had happened. Nobody looked at me like a ghost of someone they'd already buried. I was just Hazel, and that was enough. The second half, I turned into something bigger. A foundation, Hazel's Hands. For caregivers like me, women forgotten by their families, silenced after decades of giving, discarded when no longer needed. It began with one small grant, a used car for a retired nurse in Ohio, sleeping in a basement because her son didn't have room. Then another. Then letters started coming in, emails, messages, donations, photos. "I thought I was the only one," they wrote. "You reminded me I'm not invisible." And so the hands reached further. 3 months later, On a gray afternoon that smelled like rain, there was a knock at my door. Light, hesitant. I opened it slowly. Emily, 12 now. Taller. Shoulders slumped like she was carrying too much for a child. Her ponytail was dripping. In her arms, a plastic bag with books inside. "Hi, Nana," she said, her voice barely above the wind. I froze. "I found your address in Mom's emails," she added quickly. "She doesn't know I came." I said nothing, just stepped aside and opened my arms. She dropped the bag and flew into them. "I missed you," she whispered. I didn't believe her. About you. But then I saw everything online. The videos. What people said. What you did. She looked up at me, her face wet from rain and tears. She lied. "You weren't cruel. You were quiet. There's a difference." I smoothed her damp hair and kissed the top of her head. "You still know right from wrong," I murmured. "That means I still have hope." We spent the afternoon talking. I made her tea, wrapped her in a blanket. She told me about school, her little brother, how Lisa had moved them into a 2-bedroom apartment above a nail salon. "She cries a lot now," Emily said. "But it's like she's crying for herself, not for what she did." I said nothing. "Do you hate her?" she asked. I looked out the window, where the rain clung to the glass like it was too tired to fall. "No," I said, "but I'm done handing her the knife." Emily stayed until dusk, promised to visit again. I didn't press her. I didn't need promises just that one afternoon. That was enough. After she left, I stepped out onto my balcony. The sky was clearing. The sea breathed slowly in the distance, like an old friend settling in for the night. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old pictures. There it was. Lisa, age 4. Asleep in my arms, one hand curled around my thumb like it was the safest place in the world. I touched the screen with both hands, gently. "I raised you with these hands," I whispered, "but I will never let them be bound by your guilt." I set the phone down. And for the first time in years, I let the wind wrap around me, not as a prisoner, not as a servant, not even as a mother. Just Hazel. Just free. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of someone you love, or someone you've forgotten, don't let it end here. Share it. Talk about it. And if you believe voices like Hazel's deserve to be heard, remembered, and honored, then subscribe to Grandma True Stories. Because every silent elder has a story. And some of them, they're not done speaking.